Intro, just my name. Just a selfish intro on the screen. Thanks for joining us. You can watch that screen and see us do all this live. Welcome to the program. You can go to YouTube, Dean Blundell Show on YouTube, YouTube/Dean Blundell Show. You can also go to Twitch and watch this live if you're listening to this on an audio version, Google, Spotify, Apple, etc. Thank you. We really appreciate it. But don't forget to subscribe to watch this. But welcome to the program. My name is Dean. As always, we've got a full complement of people here. I like to robe myself with two things: friends and legal advice. We've accomplished both today on the program. Please welcome my friend Lachlan Cross, 95.7 Cruise FM in Edmonton. Mark Bourrie, lawyer, journalist, former archaeologist. He's like the Indiana Jones of scholars. Mark Bourrie joins us as well. And of course, my dear friend and yours, gonzo journalist. That's what I call her. Just superstar. Caryma Saad from sadvocacy.com, ladies and gentlemen. Caryma's here. Mark is here. Nice to see you guys. Is it weird that you're always on the show at the same time with us? Is that weird for you two, or no? No,
this is how we get to chat. I like this.
I find it weird that I'm always on with you, Dean.
Yeah.
There's rehab for that.
Mm-hmm. He won't go. He's happy being himself. He doesn't care. But either way, I'm just happy that you guys are here. And you guys are going to see each other this weekend, right? Mark, you're in the Ottawa region, and Caryma's heading up to Ottawa. We got lots of stuff to get to today. We're going to talk about the Canadian AntiHate Network.
Let's just, before we get into that, what does the Mark and Caryma get together look like?
Yeah, is that happening?
Is it like a nightclub?
Yeah, usually with some sort of like loud sound behind that. I guess it'll be like motorcycles this time.
Okay.
Everyone's going to be in leather for sure.
Oh yeah, so hot.
All leather.
We tried for trucks last time, but the police got in the way. I was on the Quebec side of the border, and I couldn't get downtown. I couldn't get to my home. But these bikers, they seem like nice people. So
Don't they? Yeah, they seem peaceful. Well, and we'll get to that because the organizer seems like a peaceful guy. His name is Neil, but that's what we're going to talk about today. We've got the Canadian AntiHate Network to get to a little later on in the program. Army Chris is going to be by because the rest of the world is clued in, and we're sending real heavy equipment into Ukraine. So we're going to talk about what those things are a little later on in the program. Well, we're sending 4+4, but I mean the rest of the world's doing the work, right? So that's okay. And we're also going to get into a few other things today, not limited to anything else, including how you can protect yourself. But I want to start with Ottawa because, as it's being called, you know how the last time we were on about the Freedom Convoy. Caryma was there. It turned into this huge impromptu thing where, she had her camera and she's walking around and she's documenting things. And we only drove about 400 million impressions between both of us that week. So it's no big deal. So we're going to do it again because this is happening again. You've got Rolling Thunder, which is the motorcycle equivalent of the Flu Trucks clan, no matter what they tell you it is, and they're planning on heading into Ottawa this weekend. Now, Caryma, I want to ask you a little bit about this before you go. You're going, right? Like you're heading there. We're going to be doing some live shows all weekend long. Is that correct?
That's the plan. Yes, sir.
All right. Are you worried about this one? And how do you process this? Because this is a little bit different. Like we've had a dry run. There seems to be some things in place, like this exclusionary zone in and around motor vehicle exclusion zone, in and around where they had problems keeping people out when the Flu Trucks clan was in. But how are you feeling about this bad boy? I mean, this is like it's like the dessert course of the redneck parade, is it not?
The cherry on top of the shit sundae.
Good one.
So I don't know how much planning went into this on the part of organizers. I really get the impression that this was an offhand remark made in a TikTok video, and people latched onto that and sort of then started grafting ideas on top of this semi-viral video. So I really don't think that we're going to see sort of an Occupation 2.0. As you pulled up the police chart there, they have learned from experience that perhaps motor vehicle protests are not ideal to have in this area, or legal perhaps. And we've talked about this and how sort of this very broad interpretation of the charter from police is just kind of, ironic from the institution that probably is the leading violator of charter rights. But nonetheless, we've learned some lessons, says interim police chief. There's going to be sort of a block on protest involved vehicles. I'm curious to see what that looks like. Are we going to have checkpoints? Because to my understanding, the roads aren't actually going to be shut down to traffic. It's specific traffic that's going to be limited. And
Like
for
them.
their part, yeah. And if you have a Canadian flag, you know, maybe take it off your vehicle for the weekend. But the other thing is the actual attendees. Like, they're talking about having sort of spots where they're parking. These may be residential areas. So thankfully, you know, I'm going to be able to bring my scooter, so I'm going to cover as much ground as possible.
Sweet.
We're going to see as much as we can to understand sort of the logistics of trying to stop a motorcade, I guess. Is that what we would call this? I don't know.
Can you show that map? Where's the tomb of the unknown soldier? Because that seems to be a focal point, guys.
If you go to, Sussex, Rideau, and go down Wellington a little bit, there's a little like a faded line. That's the canal, and right across from that is the on the Parliament building side is the tomb of the unknown soldier.
Yeah, because the organizer did go off about, if you don't let us in, something about the tomb of the unknown soldier, we're gonna be really
Kick
upset.
some ass. We're gonna be really upset.
So I think maybe because it's a military based thing or a veterans based thing, maybe they feel there's some obligation to protest there.
This is not a military-based or veterans-based thing.
No.
That has been sort of, that's the backtracking that has happened. And the person who initially made this announcement, you know, may have served in the Canadian military. But I think that is sort of a
Schnell or Schneid or
yeah.
Schneer, what the fuck's his name?
Neil Sheard is his name. I'd like to
Sheard.
introduce you to him, and I appreciate. Go ahead, Mark.
If they were serious about honoring vets, they would park their bikes on Remembrance Day and walk up like everybody else. The monument and the tomb, which actually contains a German, by the way. Anyway, those things have been wide open for everybody forever, except when the truckers were there dancing on the tomb of the unknown soldier. If they were there for repentance, I might have a little bit of time for it. Otherwise, they can just piss off. For that, they've already wrapped themselves in the flag. They shouldn't be now pissing on the veterans. And the Royal Canadian Legion has made that pretty clear too. They're not buying it either. So yeah, I mean, there's old fat men, like telling from personal experience, are pathetic. And the only thing more pathetic than old fat men are old fat men on motorcycles. And that's what we're going to see in Ottawa.
Unless it's a gold wing, Mark. If it's a gold wing, they get a pass.
It's a gold wing, you know. So basically, any motorcycle with a radio is just a cheap car. You know, these guys. I mean, this is hell's waiting room, right? And a couple of them are almost certainly going to get hurt or killed or something, and become like martyrs to this pathetic cause. They're going to come through town if they show up in any numbers. They're going to make lots of noise, and Ottawa's had it. I live in Ottawa. Chief Slowly, who is suing one of my clients, is gone, and he will not be back. And the chief that they've got now, the interim chief who I think they should hire, Bell, is good. This guy is really on the ball. The city of Ottawa learned a lot. This destroyed the political career of the mayor, it destroyed the police chief's career, and they're not going to take this shit anymore. And these guys are going to be allowed to drive through and to leave. And they can't sleep on a motorcycle. They're not going to be sleeping in the rough in Ottawa. This thing is, you know, and one of the things that people don't talk about much is that every once in a while, a bunch of guys with pickup trucks and Canadian flags come blasting through Ottawa too. So this has become just a sort of low-level annoyance. And I don't think this thing. I'm praying for rain. I don't think we're going to get it, even without rain. It's cold, and we'll get a bunch of guys from Montreal and maybe from Toronto. They're all going to be over 300 pounds. They're all going to look like hell. They're going to be older than me. And
you're fucking old, Mark.
I'm actually a corpse haunted by the ghost of a
A
lawyer.
fat guy. Oh, a lawyer.
Because lawyers live this limbo where they can either go to heaven or hell, and they have to stop the earth picking the coppers off the eyes of dead men. And
coppers off the eyes of dead men to keep their eyes closed. It sounds like you're looking forward to this weekend. From what I understand, you got a great relationship with a lot of these guys coming into town for some weird biker lemon party. But let's back that up a little bit, okay? Let's talk about the organizer, because Caryma, you made mention, and this is how, again, it's a Trojan horse. The whole idea that the veterans thing is a big deal and they're going to pay respects to our war dead. Trojan horse, much like mandates were a Trojan horse. And here's how I know this. And I want to introduce you to Neil Sheard now. This is the organizer. Absolute rotten piece of shit. And you might think he's a cool dude, but I don't. And Locke, I want to introduce you specifically to Neil, because this is Neil about a year and a half ago when he was violently campaigning against mandates and vaccines with all the same hallmarks, right? Like, this guy's a veteran, and he's talking about veterans here, and it's one of the most disgusting displays of support or actual co-opting of veterans and our war dead than you will ever see, complete with the upside-down flag, ladies and gentlemen.
Across the street, there's a cenotaph with the names of men who gave up their lives for our freedom. Our freedom. Now it is our turn to fight for our freedom. We have let them down. They died in vain.
you know what? They should show that in Ukraine. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
At least the lobotomy worked.
That's the guy. That's the guy that Caryma that has been saying this is just about supporting our veterans. He just absolutely pissed all over them with that comment. That's a year ago, and that was about not getting vaccinated. I'm not done. I'm going to boot fuck this guy on the podcast, and I hope that's okay with you guys. This is the organizer of the whole thing.
Can I watch?
And yeah, totally. You can. I'm really happy you're here. As a matter of fact, I'm not done introducing you to Neil Sheard. Not only is he, does he absolutely hate the veterans, not only is he taking a dump on the history and the war dead and the sacrifice that they've all made, not a big fan of Jews either.
We are no longer the unvaxxed. We are Jews. That is where we are right now. 1933.
How's that?
So that's a super common form of, I guess, or line of thinking, which really amounts to a form of Holocaust denialism, to the extent that it's minimizing, obviously, what happened in the Holocaust and the comparison to public health measures. There isn't one, but surprisingly common and very disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
It's what he's doing is he is equating the mandates and vaccine and mask rules and to what the Jewish population went through,
to being in a concentration camp during the
World War
Holocaust.
II. Yeah. It's just so egregious. It's so disgusting on so many levels. Like
this, but this is why, dude. This is why. No, but see, here's the thing: they never say the fucking quiet parts out loud, so we have to do it. That's why I'm here today. I'm here to legitimately boot fuck this guy and this whole movement, and we're gonna do it all weekend long. And I'm gonna make sure people know exactly who Neil Sheard is. By the time I am done with him, he will not only be unemployable, but I'm gonna make sure that this follows him around for the rest of his life. He is an anti-Semitic, full-on QAnon freak who was actually a bodyguard of your friend Ramona Dadula, the Queen of Canada, as a matter of fact, Caryma, if you want to know where he actually came from. And not done there, because he just started doing his research in June, guys. So he's locked in. Watch this.
I'd say about June. That's when I started doing some research to find out. And then I saw the Dr. Judy Mokovich. She had that video called The Pandemic. And that's what set me up.
That's what set him off. The pandemic video. Dude, this guy is exactly like all the other fucking crazies. He's just managed to capture the attention of people that have the ability to support this thing. This is in my opinion. And B, this guy is far more dangerous in his rhetoric than anything we heard in the trucker convoy. Thoughts?
I don't know
What's
about the far more dangerous. I think that, you know, this is sort of on par. I don't know that anything sets him apart really to distinguish him apart from him being able to identify the point that he got radicalized. So kudos to him for that, I guess. But it's, yeah, like understanding and sort of exposing this, I think, is a worthwhile endeavor, not just to shit on the people who have gone down this rabbit hole, which, you know, you sort of have it coming at that point. But these thoughts and ideas are spreading. So being able to I like parse them, figure out kind of the origins, that is really important because, you know, he is someone's neighbor, he is someone's, you know, relative, like
Family member.
and that's true for everyone in this movement pretty much, although many are likely isolated from their normal support groups, right? And then are turning in for support amongst themselves. And that's kind of, you know, how we have such a vibrant group of individuals. This is about community, but based on the wrong things, if you ask me.
And I think what we've seen here is a bunch of damaged, alienated people. People who sort of wander along the reality and wander along the edge of mental health, probably quite a bit over the edge of mental health, having a shared language now, right? Instead of some of them saying, you know, the is coming, or, you know, the end is nigh, or whatever, they've got this code they can now talk to, and it's sort of almost a fraternal thing. I mean, that's part of it. Part of it is grift. Like, I don't know what this guy's game is and if there's any profit in it for him. But it empowers the kind of people who, you know, were bullies when you were in grade school, right? Just dumbasses of all kinds. But I think for one, I think the thing that is really exciting for them is that they've gone from sort of walking around muttering to actually speaking out and finding colleagues and collegiality.
That's the community you're talking about, Mark. Yeah. It's not just a shared language, it's a community. And the thing is, we are all very much wired like that. We're looking for acceptance as human beings as a whole, right? Yeah. It's the reason why things like religion have been so successul over the years, because you feel part of something.
And if you go to a site like Small Dead Animals on .com on the internet and see this community of lunkheads talking to each other in echo chamber, or Twitter, and which I think suspect is going to get much worse, and all kinds of other places that I don't go to, I'm sure. You're going to see this stuff constantly, and you know, they're not hearing anyone say they're wrong. Like, I doubt a buddy that's going to watch this program, or any of his friends. And we're I wrote a book years ago about Harper, and 2015 I talked about how the neo-fascist movement would build its own media to create its own sort of civilization inside our civilization, and that's what they've done. So we can talk about this till we're blue in the face, but to actually convince any of them, they're going to be hard. I think the thing that's going to heal the pandemic stuff is just time and the pandemic going away. But you will never be able to debunk them, because they will just say you're tricky, you're lying. They've got all the escape hatches to evade discourse.
Yeah, but you can't find an escape hatch when videos like that of you holding upside down flags, comparing yourself to Jews in the Holocaust. You can't. There's no escape hatch for that. There's no escape hatch for the kind of hate and the rhetoric that guy is furthering. Like, there just isn't. And when you present the information to me, it's not about changing the minds and hearts of hillbillies and rednecks who love the Lord. Like, I could give two fucks about any of those people.
You have to pretty much deprogram those assholes.
I'm not interested in that.
You know what? You want to limit the damage by showing anybody else who might be sucked in that it's a fucking clown show, right?
Yeah. Right. Which is the intention, right, Caryma? Like, listen, we talk about this all the time. We're going to pivot over to the Canadian AntiHate Network and kind of how this dovetails in as well, because they created some major problems for themselves and had major issues yesterday in special session when the executive director, this guy named Evan Balgord for the Canadian AntiHate Network, was like, we make up hate too. Like, we made up some shit. Yeah, no big deal. Sometimes it happens. But like, we're talking about a hate movement full of very seriously disturbed individuals that seem to think they can gloss over their past, but there's receipts for all this because they've lived out loud like a bunch of rednecks and hillbillies for the last couple of years, right? So we got them. We know exactly what they are. But my point is this, Caryma, is that you're going to go into the mouth of the lion this weekend. People are going to know who you are, but your intention isn't to change the minds and the hearts of these people either, right? It's to say, hang on, everybody, which is really what we're here for. Hang on, everybody. If you're attracted to this and because of what they're telling you it is, let's take a second to show you exactly who these people are and what's happening. Is that not the case?
That is exactly it. It's about going in and sort of documenting, right, what stands out to me. And, you know, I get criticism for the things that I choose to broadcast or show or focus on, but that's what it is. That's what it is. I don't sort of contrive any scenes or scenarios, and not everything that I show is inherently negative. But to your point, if someone sort of falls for the veneer of how people describe themselves, or how even the mainstream media sort of understands it to be, but there's actually sort of a disconnect from reality, and I am there just to show what's going on, and I think that's sort of
the point.
That's the point.
Right.
I think the disconnect.
I like the seating time at the zoo aspect of your reporting too.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Dean, you mentioned something like the got 'em moment, right? Like, and showing receipts, and these guys are clearly on the wrong side. See, the thing about that is they're not presenting themselves or giving something up with the expectation that they're doing something wrong. They're out there thinking they're on the right side of history, and everyone else has got their head up their ass, and that when the dust settles and that Justin Trudeau and all the pedophiles get arrested and put in jail, that they're going to be paraded through some square and I don't know, we'll throw grapes at them and put wreaths on their head or something. Like, they don't think that they're wrong. They're getting hauled into court. They're getting arrested. They're getting booted off social media. And all that does is just props up their narrative.
Yeah, many of them are not dishonest people. They actually believe this stuff. There are people I think believe it, and there are people like Pierre Polyev who are smart enough to know their own what when they're saying bullshit and when they're not, who just don't care whether they tell the truth, right?
There's a handful in the group too, Mark, that I think are aware of it. Like Chris Sky knows he's full of shit.
Oh yeah,
like you can see it on his face.
It's all shits and giggles with guys like that. There were people who were grifting for money and people who were just just out and out sociopaths who have led some of this stuff, and who lead extremes on both sides, left and right, in this country.
This Snared, I think, is a sociopath. I think he fucking believes this. Dean?
Oh, without question, I think he believes it. But I think he believes it because His issue is more about his inability to comprehend objective reality around him, right? And I think that that's what sits with all these people. So you got a bunch of different stuff, but like it doesn't matter where someone gets the psychopathy to be able to kind of go, oh, well, I'm going to arrive at this is like a kind of a magic thing, and Jesus is going to come down from the clouds, and we're fighting on behalf of him, and this is for the common good. Like to get there, you have to go through a series of really disenfranchising things in your life where you're like, life's too hard for me to understand, so I'm just going to settle with this. And I found a community, as you guys have pointed out, and Caryma, that was really evident the last time you were there. Was like all these people kind of came out of their basements from behind their computers, and they were like, oh, there's more of us, right? And the more of us aspect of this is fascinating to me, because before the advent of the internet and before the advent of chat rooms and groups and Facebook groups and this and that, these people just kind of sauntered around going, I guess I don't have any friends, right? Like these are the people we were worried about the most. Now that they're out there doing this, it's like it's so difficult to be able to assert their intentions in the public square because of the obfuscation that comes from everywhere, right? And it's not just to that point. It's not just the fact that they lie about their intentions. Like this fucking Neil Sheard guy. He's going there because he truly believes that the world is going to hell in a handbasket without his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And he truly believes that Ramona Dadula should be the Queen of Canada. The dude is so fucked in the head. This was the same guy that delivered like court summonses to MPs in Peterborough telling them that they've broken the international law and that they're going to get hung in the Nuremberg trials. That's this guy.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get to that point, Mark and Caryma, without legitimately having major mental issues. Major.
There are millions of people in North America who haven't had any fun since high school, right? We live in a society where, seriously, when you look at like how many movies are made about like the fantastic life of high school students, romantic comedies and all that kind of crap, and it's true. Like there are people who they went through high school, they got out of the world, and just been one shit sandwich after another. And they get into their 20s and it doesn't end, and they keep thinking there's going to be like a fun life and a good life and decent income and happy home and respect and all the things that people want out of life, and it never comes to a lot of these guys, and they have real complaints about the economy. I think that we should not ignore the fact that the jobs that were available for these kind of guys don't exist anymore. The factory jobs, the blue collar jobs, there's no sort of frontier to go to if you want to make like lots of money anymore. Like when I was a young guy up in the Northern Ontario, work for the railway, work in a mill, make a pile of money, go to school. All that stuff is gone. These guys are all in debt up to their fucking eyeballs, right? Yeah. Half of them are probably behind on their child support. Their life is not good. And if somebody could come along and give them some kind of intellectual hug, put them on a motorcycle that probably is most bank, and call them road warriors, knights of the road going to go save the country. Right. That's a big jerk off for these guys.
Yeah. Mark's not
hang on. Just no, he's not. But Caryma wanted to say something, and I wanted to get her because I watch Caryma in these, and I can see the wheels spinning, and I'm like, ooh, this is going to be good.
Well, I think two things. One, that, underpinning sort of the ability to say this is like the Holocaust, or here's a notice of liability that has effect in law, even though it doesn't, right? Yeah. Like that's a lack of sort of understanding how things work, a lack of education, sort of a lack of historical context. So that's part of it. But what Mark said is really interesting. And, there are... I think that is a component of this as well. And I always hesitate to kind of make bold, broad statements because people are there for different reasons, right? So this is true for a segment of the population, but not like I don't think that there are any universal truths about this group, or they're very hard to discern. But apart from sort of the economic anxiety, right? Or that dissatisfaction, or like the class interests that are at play. There's also an element, and this I think is where the white nationalism comes in and seeps in, and is able to recruit people who are experiencing real dissatisfaction, real sort of lack of material conditions, etc., and then pin that to identity. So there is an identity crisis that's also happening here, right?
Mhm.
And people who have been told, well, this is the life that you're supposed to expect and that you're entitled to. And yeah, other people, like other people who aren't people like you, they have to do dirty work, or they have to, be poor or suffer, but not you, like and that, and because then you also have sort of this cultural shift, right? Where people are the concept of white privilege, for example. And so this group, or the segment that I'm referring to, that, I've never been privileged because of my whiteness. This is bullshit. And then sort of lash out, right? And so that's where you get this really toxic mix of sort of cultural issues, class issues, like real problems, imaginary problems, and that's why it's so messy, and why I take pride when I document to sort of, I try not to be misleading in what I present. And
You never are. Never. And that's, I mean, and that's really the I'll get to Mark, and then we'll kind of pivot from being misleading about this stuff into people that intentionally do it on both sides. Mark, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and to take what Caryma said a little farther and build on what I said, I think part of the problem with white men, a lot of people who look like me and come from the background that I come, which is basically small town Ontario, is that they were raised and are still raised in a culture. People who read books, study, are nerds and dorks, right? It's also sort of Australian loudism, where you're expected to be a good partier, you're not supposed to basically involve yourself in intellectual pursuits, as sort of a young Canadian white guy in suburban society or small town society or whatever. And meanwhile, the people who look like Caryma, first or second, third generation newcomers in Canada, are busting their ass because there's so many roadblocks in their way. If they want to get ahead, they've got to study. They can't go partying every weekend. They got to get good grades. They got to go to university. They've got to go to they come out, and now they have an opportunity to do well in the professions, to do well in government, to get past some of the barriers that are put up against them in the workplace. And you've got all these people who thought that they were really cool people doing the right thing culturally, who are completely unprepared to function in an information economy anymore.
But isn't that like what is asked of all of humanity? Like to do the work, to be a good human being, to be capable to go out and take your lumps and be accountable and operate in this life with an objective perspective that you are not entitled to something else someone else is or isn't based on the color of your skin, where you were born, and how that whole fucking thing works, right? Like, isn't that
historically that's never been the case, though? How has that ever been the case?
No, it hasn't.
Really.
That's been the ideal, but that's literally never been the case in Canada.
You've got 12 generations of Canadians who have never had to work. We're basically born on top of the gold mine, didn't have to work very hard. There were always jobs. There's been a labor shortage in this country since 1610, literally. There was always something for them to do. Their parents had houses. Their grandparents had property and cottages. They had the good life without really busting a sweat and without having to do very much work to prepare for that.
Mm-hmm.
And now all that's changed, and you have to you have to do without. As a teenager and in your 20s to get the education that it takes to function in society, and you have to work a lot harder. And there are people who just will not do that, and they just wonder why they don't have the living standard. And another thing about getting back to people like truckers, truckers used to make a decent living in this country. Truckers, somebody driving a truck would make enough money to have a decent place to live and support a family. And we've seen Canadian wages, decrease, partly because the working people in this country have been conned into getting rid of the unions. So we don't have the Teamsters pushing up truckers' wages and stuff. People, they don't have the ability to consume that they used to have. And all of these things are screwing with their brain, and you throw a pandemic into it.
Yeah. I think Mark is onto something. I think Caryma has a very valid point in that there are numerous reasons why the people from the convoy were down there. There's going to be numerous situations why the Rolling Thunder group, it's going to be a mix of people. But I mean, if we're taking broad strokes and we're trying to figure out what happens to an individual to get him to a point, I think Mark has it's a significant number of them went through what Mark went through. And it's funny what Mark is saying they went through to get to where they are. I think also many people have what I affectionately refer to as, and this isn't my term, lizard brain. And the reason why I sort of adopted that is because I've got that. I can be dragged into a conspiracy theory quite quickly. Like somebody can send me down YouTube a rabbit hole, and I'll spend my weekend going damn straight, and then at the end of it I got to shake it off and go, come on, there's got it, and then find another way of looking at it, right? But I can be sucked into conspiracy theories as well. But there are a lot of people that are wired a certain way, and this was just the next thing, right? They finished with the JFK. They finished with the 9/11 YouTube videos. And then the pandemic came along, and it's like, oh, God, it's planned? Of course it is, right? The interesting thing about that white guy that might be disenfranchised, he's pissed off at Trudeau. We can't make the same kind of money. By the way, fuck off. We all can't. Like, if I made what I'm making right now, my wife and I as a family in the 80s, I'd be fucking going on vacation every 2 weeks. And I'm barely check to check now. So we're all dealing with it. Not just, it's everybody. Everyone's in that world right now. But I had a call from a guy one day. He was pissed off about something that I said, and then wanted to turn the conversation to immigration. And then had the fucking balls to tell me, and I swear to God, he goes, I'm a white guy. I'm working my ass off. I've been here. My family been here for generations, and they're flying people in from fucking whatever country, and they get a Toyota Corolla at the fucking at the airport.
Always with the Corolla. Always with the Corolla.
Why did they get a Toyota? Where did you get this? They get a Toyota Corolla. Yeah. People believe the weirdest shit, and they convince themselves of the weirdest shit. And then they get angry about it, and then they're on their fucking gold wings, and they're on their way to Ottawa, right?
Yeah, but dude, this is reinforced, and here's the thing, right? It's reinforced by people in government, like Pierre Poilievre, who's on some kind of mission to destroy this country. He is such a fucking lying piece of shit. It's hard to believe. Like Jagmeet Singh, right? If this isn't a racist answer to a tweet, I don't know what is. Jagmeet's talking about witnessing a massive transfer of wealth from everyday Canadians to billionaires. This resonates with that group. Under a liberal conservative system rigged in favor of the rich, inequality has grown in the pandemic. While Canadians have struggled, billionaires have increased their fortunes by $111 billion. Pierre Poilievre, who's out stumping in the white community out west in any little small town that'll take him, is trying to tell everybody that they are those victims that we're discussing. They have been fucked over by the government. They have been fucked over by immigrants. And it's in his reply. He's saying, yes, the system is rigged for the rich, but you are the system, Jagmeet. If that's not a dog whistle to the white power community that thinks that they have had their entitlement taken away from them, I don't know what is. And it got better this morning. Let me just bring this up. This tweet fucking floored me. He put this out today. So a guy like it's some dude named Frank Graves, not associated with the CBC, but they have him on from time to time. He's talking about how Pierre Poilievre is an acolyte of authoritarian populism, and it's never healthy. Going to make sure you're never going to lead my country. I don't make idle threats. Frank's an actual real dude who's got some real gusto, just so you know. Pierre has none. So Pierre then actually proves Frank's entire point by saying a CBC pundit threatened me. Lie, he's not a CBC pundit. And then the dog whistle by saying the gatekeeping elites will try to destroy anyone who threatens their power. So now he's painting him as the guy who's keeping his people down. Then he paints himself as the fucking hero. I'm not backing down. So I'm the hero for these bikers coming to town and every other white person that thinks that white people are having their lives crawled back on them. Then he says, and this is fucking unbelievable to me, he blames it all on the CBC. He's like, help me defund the CBC, remove the gatekeepers, and give you back control of your life. What part of the CBC's programming has enslaved this country? Can anybody tell me?
This
Can
hour
anybody
has
tell
22
me?
minutes.
Yeah, it's true. I gotta watch it too. It's quite funny.
Now, Frank,
But I'm
Frank,
serious.
I'm
That is
okay
the
with them
fucking
defunding
problem.
the CBC though.
Yeah,
Frank has
I'm
been
not.
a client of mine, so Frank was sued by, or threatened to be sued by Warren Kinsella, and I defended Frank. So I gotta sort of say that off the top of my head. Yeah, it's the guy throwing crap at the wall, hoping that something sticks, and this is how this guy has always been. You go back and you look at his cross-examination of Trudeau and the Kielburgers and the Wee hearings, whether or not you buy into the Wee stuff, still take a look at it and just see how brutally bullying that was, and how it was just actually is also a waste of time. And he has been doing this shtick for years and years. Was considered like a rattlesnake that the Tories could bring out once in a while. And now in this market, he's actually got a leadership shot, and he will destroy anybody. This man has no known scruples, and Frank is right. This guy needs to be stopped by voters, by his party, by some legitimate means. If he ever became the Prime Minister of Canada, A, he couldn't do anything he says he wants to do, but B, he just fuck it right up.
But you got to be careful if you're a guy like Frank. That's red meat. Like, just leave him alone.
No, fucking hammer him. Hammer him. Oh, fuck yeah, dude. That's what this whole weekend is about. Like we're talking about people that literally take pride in disinformation. And a great example of that is happening in Caryma's life, like right now. And we've been talking about this week. And every time I talk to Caryma, I'm like, double down, get after it. And that's what the Canadian AntiHate Network, and I want to pivot over to that real quick because it's very important, and I'm going to allow Caryma to kind of unwrap this, and then we're going to bring Mark in because Mark has actually had an opportunity to be involved with this group. And before I sewer the people and the organization involved, I think everybody knows that I think that this is legitimately some Fugazi agency that is legitimately not about finding hate and stamping it out in this country, to the point where one of the organizers, sorry, go ahead, Locke.
Can we get a background? Like, because to be honest, I'll wave the dumb guy flag. I don't know what this group is.
Yeah, most people don't. So
no,
yeah, like I'm sorry.
How would you, Caryma? Maybe we better let Mark kind of describe what Canadian AntiHate Network is, and then I'm going to turn it over to Caryma.
I'll tell you what I know of them. It's Bourrie Farber, who has actually been, fighting a good fight for years against anti-Semitism, leads this thing as far as I know. It has a small staff, but it has no grassroots support that I can see.
Government funded.
It's government funded. It gets grants from the government. It gets grants from the private sector too, because it sounds like it's doing the Lord's work. I mean, who among us is for hate? I mean, I agree with stamping out hate that's illegal. I believe in preventing our country from going down a road to totalitarianism and protecting the dignity of every Canadian. This organization, as far as I can see, doesn't do any of that. It gets headlines, it gets quotes. I had the delight of cross-examining Evan Balgar, the guy who is the sort of mouthpiece of this thing, and he didn't know a damn thing about anything. He didn't know anything about propaganda. He had done no research on issues that he had brought up. it's just a bunch of slogans and clipped out of newspapers and stuff. I have heard that this is me throwing this to Caryma, that they do much more than just sort of self-aggrandize and have actually gone after decent people. And one of the decent people, I take it, is Caryma. So
yes. So take us back, because this started last summer, Caryma, and you've been sitting on this for a long time. You started to kind of talk about it. Now it's starting to roll, right? And I'm going to get into an interview that was done by a conservative MP with the executive director, Evan Balgord, who you just talked about, who basically said, yeah, we make shit up. And I'm going to get to that. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. But when did your issues with the Canadian Anti-Hate Network start, real quick? And we've got some assets to show people, but take us through it, because they have made your life, and their operatives, whether they know it or not, have made your life not just miserable, but they have legitimately upset your life for the past year and a half.
Yeah. So, I mean, as best as I can tell, it's always the case where there's multiple things happening at the same time. But the sort of one-sided issue that I've had with the Anti-Hate Network had to do with this concept of platforming and strategies on how to tackle hate, how to tackle racism, and not just a disagreement in approach, but I attempted to throw a show last year that would have featured an interview of Chris Sky in a way that he's never been interviewed by anyone, as far as I'm aware. And sort of there was resistance to that. And the way that that story was covered by the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, I think was quite unfair in its approach. And it later transpired that people involved in that article had been keeping an eye on me, monitoring me, stalking me, I don't know, even before I announced this event with Chris Sky. And so I don't know what the deal is. I'm going to find out. But at this point, I don't quite know, because there is an organization. There's a lot of anonymity even within that organization, as far as who's involved, who is actually authoring a particular piece of journalism. How do we sort of follow up? What's anyone's credentials? Like, that's all quite murky. And then simultaneously, there are these online anonymous accounts that operate on different platforms and seem to be either feeding information to the organization, taking their cues from the organization. How close or tenuous those links are, I can't say.
I've had sock puppets of theirs approach me and say, "Don't talk to Caryma. Don't retweet Caryma stuff." I've had people come to me on DMs on Twitter saying, "Don't talk to Dean." That these guys that Caryma and Dean are fronts for the ultra right of Trojan horses. It's crazy bullshit, and I'm just like, fuck off. Because I'm a very basic person and my time is valuable, so I just tell them to fuck off. So yeah, this is the kind of crap that's going on, and it's just as pathological as the crazy right-wingers, because they're just as paranoid, and they're just as self-aggrandizing, and they're just as pretty blunt as fucking lazy. Like, if you're gonna run an anti-hate network, again, you're born on top of a gold mine. This country's full of great issues to do, and you're gonna go after Caryma Assad? Are you fucking crazy?
Well, hold it, and here. Well, yeah, and I love it. Like, I could give two fucks, and this is the kind of stuff that gives me fuel. But to Caryma's point, they upset her life to the point where they had people stalking her and taking pictures of her.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how. Like, what is it? Chicken egg, right? Are you hired by this organization to watch me, or is this organization hiring people who have been watching me? And both of those scenarios are disturbing. So I don't actually know which it is. I don't know which it is.
You're upset. You look upset, and you should be upset. This is super creepy.
Yeah.
You don't know who these people are, what their psychosis is. And when all these people, the left or the right, they hide behind these fabulous, great. Gonna fight tyranny, freedom, and then you turn around, and you find out stuff like this.
Well, and it gets better too, because Caryma and I were talking about it. This is Dane, if I'm understanding this correctly, his name's MP Dame Taylor, I think his name is, Canadian MP. Yeah. I'm not too sure when this was, Caryma, but you're gonna have to kind of fill me in. But if you remember, was it this week?
Maybe yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, Locke, do you remember when John Kay got all upset because Bourrie Farber, the president or CEO of the Canadian AntiHate Network, tweeted out this tweet? He said this was taken by a friend in Ottawa at the occupation, apparently in plain sight. And it's a pamphlet, anti-Semitic pamphlet. Every single aspect of the COVID agenda is Jewish, super, super hateful, super, super anti-Semitic. Well, we found out that this was actually taken in Miami, and Bourrie Farber, the president of the Canadian AntiHate Network, used this as absolute disinformation, even though this is a terribly hateful thing that everybody should be aware of. He passed it off as something that had happened in Ottawa. So he lied. Not only did he lie, he doubled down several times and then deleted the tweet. Thank God we actually take screenshots and fucking keep them all. But and I got lots of those. Like, it is over and over and over again. So what happens is the alt-right grabs that and they're like, see, these guys are making up everything against us. And then you've got people like us that are going, hey, we're trying to fucking document facts here about this group. So can you fuck off? But they were asked about it this week. This is your boy, Evan Balgord, who's the executive director of the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, admitting that not only did they not vet that, they had no idea, and they just went with it anyway because that's what they do. Watch this. It's fucked.
From an area where last summer we had a 100-year-old church burned to the ground, and dozens of people had to be evacuated from an apartment building close by, which nearly went up in flames and killed dozens of people. But you just don't hear it talked about in this country, and I understand that it's not your organization's mandate to talk about these things. As you've said, you're clearly focused on the far right. My question is, during the convoy protests, your executive director, I believe that's his position, Bourrie Farber, posted a tweet with a photo of a vile anti-Semitic flyer and claimed that this flyer was, that this was a picture of the flyer being circulated in Ottawa among the trucker protesters. But upon further examination, it was proven that this exact same photo was taken in Miami, Florida, weeks before the protests ever began. Can you explain why the executive director of your organization was claiming that an anti-Semitic, that this photo was being circulated at the protests, when in fact it was a photo that was from a completely different country weeks before the protests?
Yes, thank you very much for giving me a way to address this. So first off, that was our chair. I'm the executive director. And I was privy to the email chain that led to him tweeting that out. So what had occurred was somebody had reached out who was in Ottawa, who said that they saw that flyer there and they provided the photo. At that moment, Bourrie was not aware that the photo itself was taken from an American source. What the person was trying to communicate to our organization was that they saw the same flyer, but they had attached the photo from the States. So it was our error in not communicating that more clearly, where the photo itself originated from. What the person was reporting to us was that they had seen the same flyer in Ottawa. Thank you.
So you have no evidence other than hearsay that that flyer was actually being distributed in Ottawa, correct?
That is correct. We took the report from somebody on the ground, and our chair put the information out there. I would say we did see very similar messaging.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. Nobody cares. So there you have it. I mean, like, how do you fight that, Mark? Like, how do you? You've got. Hang on, just a second. You got Caryma. And I'm going to put it out there. Bourrie Farber, Evan Balgord, Richard Warman, all of Jewish descent. Caryma, Palestinian, Pakistani, I believe. Is that correct? Indian?
No, I'm Indian. And I don't think actually Richard Warman is Jewish.
Oh, he's not? Okay.
No.
I don't think so either, no.
But they focus heavily in that area, right? They focus heavily in anti-Semitic. You heard him talk about the alt-right, the focus in there. But you've got competing interests, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, Caryma is of a different descent to these people. These people are still facilitating this campaign of quiet whatever that has upset her life, forced her to make major life decisions over the past couple of years. And I've been privy to the whole thing, so I'm a little jacked up, if you don't mind, and I apologize. But how on earth can Bournie Farber be, or this Canadian Anti-Hate Network, be taken seriously when I know what they're doing to my friend, when I watch them admit that they make shit up and pass it along, and then even fucking lie about that so it doesn't look as bad? How can they be taken seriously, and how do they keep getting government money to be in business pretending like they are the arbiter of what is hateful, what it isn't, and who can actually do an interview and who can't?
They're the only game in town. That's if you know, they are the anti-hate group that's around to throw at. I'm not going to trash Bournie Farber for his work on anti-Semitism. The guy has busted his ass through his whole life, and you know, and this is a
fair, yep.
And you know, and I don't think. But what went on in Ottawa? When you say you've got that document, that someone saw that document, then you get a picture of that fucking document before you start accusing people of that kind of stuff. This organization is basically an AstroTurf organization. It has facilitated people who have been involved in outrageous political behavior. I'm not going to dive too deep into it, but you know, these are people who basically have an agenda, and their agenda is to grow in power, to grow in funding, to back people that they back, and to screw people that they don't like. And they are very quick, very, very quick to throw the word racist at people who are not racist. And in this environment, and this is what I argued in the case where I did cross-examine this guy. In this environment, you call someone a racist, you basically nail them as a racist. It is forever. It is the scarlet letter forever. And you have to exercise extreme care, or else you're doing all this kind of harm to people. Eventually, you're at the point where you're crying wolf, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What my uncle does at the dinner table just before we have Thanksgiving is he always makes sure he lets us know, I'm not a racist, but so that covers your bases, right? And then you can move on from there. I have a question for Caryma, all kidding aside. So did they ever give you any indication what their issue was with you and this interview that you were going to do with Chris Sky? Was it just that it was Chris Sky?
That's the best that I could surmise from messages that came from the Anti-Hate Network account, that they weren't supportive of this because he has dangerous ideas and we don't want those ideas to spread. And there was a concern that sort of the entourage he would be bringing would also sort of pose a threat, either sort of a COVID threat, which, this was an outdoor show that happens to be kind of along one of the parade routes. So I don't actually sort of buy that argument in its entirety. And, is it a question of gatekeeping? The organization is not that old. I think it was established in 2018 or 2019. So, we're not talking a long rich history, although credit where credit is due, some of the individuals involved have very long, rich histories. But, I don't have the answer to that, Lachlan. I don't know. What I do know is that my sort of personal politic is very, very apprehensive about censorship in any form. Mm-hmm. And I think that we need to be extremely careful about what gets defined as hateful versus acceptable speech, because sort of expression is the cornerstone of a democracy, even bad expression. And I will say, speaking for myself, I am more scared of a scenario or landscape where ideas are suppressed than one where people are sort of free to mouth off, and this is not an encouragement of hate speech, but censoring people doesn't make their ideas change or go away.
It makes
I
it worse.
think, I think it drives it deeper underground. And there is too big a risk of sort of manipulating the definition of hate to include things that aren't hateful. And I'll just say this really briefly, like speaking sort of as a Palestinian, we already see the erasure of political opinions, and they are sort of cast aside or suppressed based on false allegations of anti-Semitism. And that's not to say that there is no anti-Semitic speech that occurs. That's not true either. But legitimate political discourse is shut down. And that happens when we have definitions that are too expansive. And who controls these definitions? I don't trust the government to sort of regulate censorship. I don't trust big tech to regulate censorship. So,
I trust
that in
Elon
mind,
Musk.
Yeah.
Another thing that's kind of insulting is the idea that Caryma couldn't handle Chris Sky, that Chris Sky would so dominate her that he would actually convince people to believe his bullshit when it was obvious to anybody watching that Caryma, that the man was a fucking moron if he actually put himself in a situation where she could fillet him and tack up little pieces of him on the wall, which is what she was going to do if she got the chance.
Well, and they have definitely put Chris Sky into the anti-Semitic camp, right?
So because he said 5,000 anti-Semitic things.
Stuff. So.
Yes, he did. Yeah, so they've got him firmly entrenched in that.
His Holocaust denial 700 times on Facebook over the past 10 years is a pretty good indicator that he's anti-Semitic, right?
So rather than they just shut him down, they just want him. That's
and that part of it I
talk to him, right?
That part of it I understand. Like that, but that wasn't the problem. Like the problem was last summer Caryma tries to put on an event. And a group of people who get money from the government decided that was not good enough and shouldn't be allowed to happen in Canada. Well, guess fucking what? It not only is allowed to happen in Canada, Caryma is a human being who wanted to have public discourse, which is what she's championing. And she's the first person when someone gets deplatformed that I'll talk to and go, and you say the same thing all the time. It's a terrible idea. We need to allow those people to make bad decisions in the public square so that we can all sharpen our mental knives and know which way society is supposed to go, right?
Well, Jordan Peterson became a multi-millionaire because shitheads were too stupid to realize that deplatforming him would actually make him a commodity.
More famous.
And even there, right? Like there's a whole definitional kind of rabbit hole we could go down. What constitutes how can I platform Chris Sky if his platform is larger? How does that work exactly, right?
Yeah, right.
And it's just it's frustrating, and
a little bit, like but like it is these people involved that call themselves anti-fascists that work with, like Morgan Yu works with and on behalf of the Canadian AntiHate Network. He's one of very few people that's actually signed his name to have you been to the AntiHate Network site recently? Everything is written anonymously. This is the byline, Canadian AntiHate Network. This is another byline, Canadian AntiHate Network. No one fucking puts their name on anything. So now that we know they make shit up, like Evan Balgord just admitted, he and Bourrie make shit up, or they don't vet, or they don't check. That should be the very bedrock of what those people do. And it's not that. Then you can sign up to give them money, sign up for updates, make a donation. And then you've got another one written by nobody at the Canadian AntiHate Network. And then here comes Peter Smith. Now, I've noticed a couple things about Peter Smith. Is that there is no record of Peter Smith anywhere on this planet that I can tie back into that article. I've looked. Caryma, have you looked?
I can't ascertain who Peter Smith is.
Like, tagging people as racist under the fucking.
Shouldn't be too hard to check them down.
No, it is.
I think
it is
next to John Jones. Yeah.
And Jim Smith.
Jim Smith.
Peter Smith.
Jim Smith's another guy.
Like there are real
think they have-
conversations to be had though about how we do regulate online spaces, right? And we know, for example, that algorithms are set up to boost certain voices and diminish others, and that's sort of an artificial manipulation, right? And I think those things we are right to be concerned about, but I don't see that censorship is the way, and I'm entitled to hold that opinion.
Yes, and the other thing they do is they take these algorithms and they use it to create an outcome that feeds their narrative. That's the issue I have with it, right? Like,
one of the upsides of Elon Musk buying Twitter, and I gotta say there's lots of downsides, is that he is offering to put that algorithm out there so that we understand.
Yeah, but listen, do you believe a fucking word he says? Like, he's going to put up an algorithm, all right, but it ain't going to be the algorithm.
I gave that guy $200 to send me to fucking Mars, and I'm still sitting here, so I don't know what's going on.
Well, this is what he put up today. Next, I'm going to buy Augusta National and make it available to the people. I'm like, this guy is out of control, right? I don't trust the word he says.
Joke.
Yeah, it's too bad that you can't sell him short personally, or we'd all make out like bandits.
Right.
When he goes down, he's going to take several banks with him, and that's going to be the sad part.
You think that's going to happen with his Twitter purchase? You think he's not going to be able to service that debt?
I teased him on Twitter. I don't know if he saw it, but I said he just bought Blockbuster. You know, these things come and go. These companies have a 15, 20-year lifespan, and this is a company that could be supplanted like tomorrow with some other service.
He's made some money,
He's
made some money, Mark? And
has he made the money? Yeah. Has he really made the money, or is this like 2008 and a bunch of derivatives?
I don't know. I
mean,
wouldn't
he
sell
lost
him
$40
too
billion
short.
in equity yesterday in trading of Tesla stocks. So
yeah, did you see that Tesla stock tanked yesterday? Because everybody's like, I think you don't have the money to keep going. If you're going to be doing
went
this
down
kind
the
of shit.
same when he smoked a joint on Joe Rogan's podcast. He seemed to bounce back from that.
That's true.
I don't know. I wouldn't count him out.
If anybody comes up, you know, if any auto companies like can come out with a car that's better than a Tesla, which is not exactly the best fucking car in the world, it's kind of cool, but it's, you know, like there's lots to improve on that. Somebody else comes out with a new social media that becomes trendy, you know, maybe the Americans having private like Dr. No type Bond villains shooting their fucking satellites into the air is not the best idea they can come up with. They maybe want to have that be like a national service as opposed to one that's owned by a psycho. Yeah, this could all come apart, and these guys, they're always a house of cards, right? So if the Twitter investment tanks or the Tesla investment tanks, then everything starts to go down. And yeah, and the guy's crazy.
I can't wait. Oh,
so
dude,
yeah, it's always a good show.
Yeah, and that's really what this is, and a great way to wrap up this part of the interview, because what you're going to see this weekend has no substance to it. It's just a show, but it's a show meant to inconvenience and hurt people. Caryma, when are you leaving to go to Ottawa? You're taking your scooter, I understand?
Yes, sir. I am.
I'm
heading out tomorrow. That's two wheels. I should be okay.
Scooter.
Is it motorized?
It is motorized.
Oh yeah,
but I don't need a license, so
no. Nobody needs a license
That's
for one of those.
said. 4 wheels good, 2 wheels bad.
You did. So you're gonna go. Question: do icicles count as motorcycles? Because I imagine a lot of those guys that are showing up are going to be showing up in e-bikes because they lost their license. If you know what I mean. Does that count as a motorcycle this weekend?
If you want to,
that's a good question.
Like an impaired driver, that's your vehicle until they close that.
We've called the police in Edmonton to ask them if you can drive the e-scooters drunk, and if you can get a DUI. You can't. It's a myth that people get them on, like on motorized things that aren't vehicles. But they did say that you can get a ticket. Golf carts? No, you can't get a DUI in a golf cart. You cannot.
Dude, you're telling a lawyer. You're telling a lawyer what he could get charged for.
I got chastised by a cop for having a joint on my scooter once.
Did you really?
I'm a drunk.
Gently.
I know these things. I phoned the police. Okay. I asked.
All right.
Anyway, you can't get a DUI on a scooter, but you can get a public intoxication ticket, is what they told me.
That's my whole idea. Go ahead, Mark.
You could drive one of those scooters, and this is what blew me away. As not a drunk, but coming from a long line of drunks, is that you could drive one of those suckers when your license. This is, I shouldn't say this. This is in case I think this is legal advice and it turns out to be wrong. But I have been told, as a civilian, before I went to law school, that you could drive one of these things when your license was suspended. You cannot drive a motorboat. You can't drive a motorboat with a suspended license. That I know.
No, you can't. No, on water you can't, but on those scooters you're fine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude. Who would drive one of those things sober? I have never been on one sober.
Nobody. You know what I love are the guys that got dinged for. That's why I call them DUI-cycles, right? The guys that get dinged for driving their motorcycle drunk, and they're like, "What can I do to get from A to B?" And they go, "Get an e-bike, get a scooter." But here's the great part: is when they take all the aftermarket parts and they try to make it look like a Harley. That makes me laugh my ass off every single time. I'm like, dude, you can't fool me.
You know,
They try to make it look like a chopper.
Yeah. Bored traps
Banana
like
bike,
us.
banana
Maybe we
seat.
were born to run, you know.
Yeah, I know.
I need to know if I'm gonna wear leather or if I'm likely to get egged and therefore should wear something different. I don't know.
Why don't you wear pleather? That way you can wipe off the egg and you don't have to feel bad about the.
Okay, my leather was pleather, Dean. You don't have to call me out for that.
Sorry, I'm not calling.
I don't have leather.
No, you gotta get some
some
chaps.
Leather?
You gotta get some chaps. You need a vest that says the 1%ers on the back, and just you'll mix right in because you're white.
I don't think my chaps.
I was gonna do
fit.
face paint actually.
You should.
I don't think my chaps will fit you.
Are people allowed?
Are
Are women of color, people of color, allowed to do whiteface? I'm pretty sure they are, right?
I'd be okay with it if you did.
Yeah, you should.
I'm gonna say this is my Lachlan card. Go talk to Lachlan. He said it was fun. He said
Yeah, exactly.
This is Downfire.
Yeah. Mark Bourrie at Mark Bourrie on Twitter is where you can find him. Lawyer, journalist, author, best-selling author, award-winning author. You got a new book coming out you just sent for editing, as I understand it. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
What's
and
it called?
Now my lawyer when I go to get my DUI, when I'm in court for my DUI on my e-bike.
Attaboy.
My lawyer in Ottawa said I could be drunk on this thing.
No, my next book is called Big Men Fear Me. It's about a guy who has literally been erased from Canadian history on purpose. He's the guy who founded the Globe and Mail, but he wanted to be the fascist dictator of Canada in the 1930s, and he almost pulled it off, except he was bipolar, and every time he got close, the synapses didn't work anymore, and it was time to go to New York for some more shock treatments. And he killed himself at the age of 47. Owned the Globe and Mail, Toronto Telegram at the same time. Gorgeous guy, hung with royalty, like pre-jet setter, everything going for him. With a high school education, came from nothing, made $1 million after the stock market crashed. Absolutely fascinating guy. And after he killed himself, his wife burned his papers. The Globe and Mail, he took his name off the masthead, took his picture off the wall. And it took me 12 years to piece this guy's life together. So it comes out October 5th.
Wow.
And it's all about what it's really about, because my books are never really about what they're supposed to be about. It's all about polite upper middle class and upper class fascism in Canada. That's what the book is really about. Polite fascism. I call it Canadian fascism. It's not fascism.
We'll have you back when the book comes out, Mark.
Yeah, for sure. Well, even before, I love having you here. Mark Bourrie.
He'll cure me of my.
I doubt that. I highly doubt that. Caryma, you're going to be in Ottawa. We're going to catch up with you all weekend. I'm sure we're going to have you on when the whole convoy starts again. Friday.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it plays out and what police have learned.
If you get arrested, you have my number, right?
Yeah. I'm going to put it on my arm. We'll be good.
All right. Yeah. Just do like they do in countries. Yeah. Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much, Mark Bourrie, Caryma Saad.
See you, Mark.
At Caryma Rules, at Mark Bourrie. Thanks, guys.
Is that music behind you?
Yeah.
CDs.
That's amazing.
I haven't moved on.
No one has. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye. Kareem Assad, Mark Bourrie, what a day. Great day to have both of those cats on. I absolutely love their content, and I love their contribution to the public forum. I really do. It comes in all forms. That was a fucking heavy conversation, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like talking about what's going on.
I enjoy both of them. Very, very, very smart. Very smart.
Yeah. And we're going to up the smart quotient. Please welcome to the program 25-year combat veteran of your Canadian Forces and the host of the Fire for Effect podcast, expert pergola builder and sous chef, Mr. Army Chris, ladies and gentlemen, live from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Cheers, fuckers. Look at that.
I actually have a Pilsner story for you, Army Chris. I had to get my winter tires put on today, so I was at Costco. I got a really good deal. And so I dropped the car off, and I went to the Costco, grabbed my shit, went to the liquor store. I'm heading out of the liquor store, and in front of me is a woman with two 30s. No, is it 48s or 36s that are in the Costco for the pills?
48s.
They're 48s. She had two 48s of pill in her shopping cart.
That's 96.
And I gave her a little hug. And she had no idea why I was hugging her.
Pack, man.
That's a bridge pack. That's 48 beers, Chris.
Good for her. That's a 3-dayer here. I tried to sign you up for Rolling Thunder while I was waiting in the green room, Lachlan.
I saw that. I saw you because I saw you leaning into your computer typing, and I'm like, oh, he's probably doing some research.
Sign him up, but I'm not on Facebook, so it didn't work.
Am I getting the newsletters?
This is something every friend does to their friends. We're like, I'm going to sign them up for anything in my ass.com newsletters.
These guys do that on the radio station all the time.
Well, I still get Goop newsletters.
And you're on the Little Dick People of Canada or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm on Dinky Ones. I still get the Dinky Ones updates.
Me too, dude. Someone last year signed me up for DinkyOnes.com. It's a website for guys with small dicks.
Grant signed you up. I swear to God, probably. I still to this day. Grant signed me up for the Goop.
I asked him, I'm like, do you sign me up for DinkyOnes.com? And he's like, wasn't me. And I'm like, I don't know. You signed up a bunch of your friends for it.
Anyways, you're good, man. You're not getting any Rolling Thunder shit sent in your fucking inbox.
That's a great
Army
idea.
Chris bitches about Kim Mitchell on cruise all the time. He hates Kim Mitchell.
He doesn't.
So I went into the system and I signed him up for 100 notifications of Kim Mitchell tunes. So every time a Kim Mitchell tune plays, he gets a text on his phone.
Yeah, my phone would pop up. Your song's playing. Like, what in the fuck is this, man?
Patio lanterns again.
Yep, right on.
Fuck you. So about 3 times a day, his phone buzzes. Just so you know, Kim Mitchell's coming up.
Good to know.
I didn't even know radio had that tech. That's like so 10 years ago. Congratulations. Sounds like radio's really moving into the 21st
for Harvard
century.
Media.
Listen,
our radio station's got this neat thing where we call people in the morning and wake them up.
Oh, I did that.
Shit. High tech.
I get that too.
Yeah, I know.
We did locker room wake up calls in the pandemic when people started drinking too much and sleeping in.
Was that a problem for people? Were they complaining like,
oh fuck yeah,
stop drinking?
Yeah.
Anyway.
If we don't get a text from Army Chris by about 7 or 8 in the morning, we actually
phone me.
We just phone him because we're always concerned he's dead.
Well, he just admitted to killing 48 beers in 3 days, every 3 days. So
there's
a good thing you check in
concern.
on him. Yeah, dude, you're loved. Did you know that? You know you're loved, Chris?
I am. I feel it too. I really do.
Yeah, you should. Anyway, thanks for being here, dude. Always great to talk to you. Army Chris, 25-year combat veteran. He is an expert in warfare, heavy machinery, munitions, that kind of stuff. And the reason why I wanted to have you on today is to talk a little bit about Ukraine, talk about Canada. We had Alex on yesterday. We kind of waxed about it with him. And obviously, this is in your wheelhouse, right? You've been so great about trying to explain to us, the early stages of warfare. So I want to get to the heavy machinery coming in, but I want your opinion real quick, because we were talking about how, several 100,000 Ukrainian men and women are running around with boomsticks, right? Literally boomsticks and like UAVs. and they are feeding it to the Russians. Now they have an opportunity to be able to bring in equipment because they've gotten themselves to that point. But I want your thoughts. I mean, we thought that this thing was going to be over in 4 days. We had you on like the day the whole thing started about 63 days ago.
Yeah.
Are you shocked that the Ukrainian people have given themselves 63 days to play with, even though we've seen some horrific shit? And are you also surprised that now the rest of the world has decided to help?
Let's rewind the clock when we first did this. So I thought that we were seeing the B players like cannon fodder being fed to the wolves in an effort to try to basically do reconnaissance and kind of see how the Ukrainian military would respond. Now I just think that the Russian army is shit. However, what's happening in eastern Ukraine on the eastern Russian Ukraine border is going to be very different than what we saw at the beginning. It's wider, open space. It's not single roads bogged down with mud on each side. So you get a bigger playground to play in, and that allows the Russians to use more of the conventional tactics that they would normally use. The only problem is they get the shit beat out of them so bad, and the state of their equipment is so deplorable that they're only 2/3 combat effective right now from everything I've researched. Which is,
what does that mean? 2/3 combat effective. Explain.
So basically, if you had let's just take a number of 100 guys that were good to fight, only 66 of them are good to go right now. That exponentially gets worse as you multiply that bigger and bigger and bigger, especially with the state of the equipment. That includes logistical supply equipment, main battle tanks, armored fighting vehicles. Like they're getting the shit beat out of them, and that's largely probably due to the introduction of the amount of Javelin missile systems that the Brits and U.S. have introduced and other fucking crap European countries.
What is anti-aircraft? Is that a category? Because Zelensky asks
let's call it air defense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anti-aircraft's a little bit of an antiquated World War II term based on a gun that's shooting down a plane like you see off a battleship. Okay. So air defense systems such as the Stinger missiles that the Russians got their shit handed to them during the Afghan war. There's several other anti-aircraft systems which are integral to this, because it's the only way the Ukraine is going to maintain its defensive posture successfully is with, and I'm going to list them in not necessarily in order, but the order which I'd like to talk to them about. They have to have an air defense capability, which now they have, because nobody's established air superiority. And that really blows my mind that there's no air superiority. Two, they have to have an anti-armor capability, which they now do. They have tanks, albeit not the best. They're similar to the Russian tanks because that's where they got them from. All that Soviet era Eastern Bloc shit. And three, and most importantly, and one of the big things leading to your conversation, Dean, is at least match or exceed the artillery advantage, which is a huge fucking part of the Russian offensive.
Mm-hmm. You're just talking about
they
like numbers,
fire back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the ability to return fire on a semi-equal basis, right? Because
it's about range and weight. Okay, so I'm an artilleryman by trade, so this is near and dear to my heart. Bomb disposal shit came later in life. Basically, when you're talking about a Soviet unit, for lack of a better term, it's going to have infantry guys up at the front, supported by tanks and other combat fighting vehicles. And in the rear is the artillery. And the artillery is softening the targets to allow the tanks and the infantry guys to advance and hold and seize ground. Okay. Now, on the other side, it's the exact same fucking way. So Russian artillery is pounding all these cities. It's weakening and softening Ukrainian defensive positions. That facilitates the ingress of the ground troops. All right. So you either pound it from the air, which they're not able to do successfully because there's no air superiority. Hence, obviously, the air defense systems are working. Fucking who knows? or you pound it using artillery, indirect fire, big fucking bullets that go long distances, and missile systems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That allows the ground force, which is your Russian infantry and their main battle tanks, to advance. Tanks are designed to kill other tanks and other hard targets. They continue to soften it up to allow infantry guys to physically seize and hold the ground. That's kind of the Coles Notes version of how it works either way. To defend against that, you need to do counter battery fire, which is your artillery kills their artillery, and your fast air bombs their artillery, which neutralizes that threat, allowing freedom of movement for your ground troops and tanks. Sorry, I use my fucking hands a lot.
It's okay, man.
And
So
you're
that's
saying
the game.
Ukraine has been matching Russia in this strategy, in this combat
the main
strategy you're
effort.
talking about.
So if you're talking about what Zelensky has been asking for most,
Yeah.
is offensive weapons, and what he really wants. And if you look at what the Americans are sending, 90 M777 howitzers, which is about the number they need. Canada's sending 4. Thanks for coming out. I'll get into that shit tonight on my show, or we can get into it today. He's the guy that brings a fucking nail to a shed building party. Anyways, it is the right gun. That howitzer is critical, and they need about 90 to 100. Plus, they need the spare parts. Plus, the guys who know how to work on them. There's about a 3-day conversion from the current artillery systems they use to get them competent on it. There's gazillions of rounds which they're shipping, because they're going to go through a fucking lot of big. This is a 155 millimeter shell that travels 24 to 40 kilometers, depending on which type of bullet you're using. So they need that first. The Javelin anti-tank system has been instrumental, and lots of those systems have been, like I said, have been coming in.
That's the shoulder one, right? The one that we've seen some videos of the
Yes,
Ukraine
it's
firing at the
that's
tanks.
right.
Yeah, it's super cool.
It's a reloadable one which replaced antiquated systems. No, that's the M777 howitzer right there. That's Canadian.
this is-
That's Massamgar, Afghanistan, man. That's a
Oh, is it?
battery, 1 RCHA right there.
So you know where that is.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So we're sending 4 of these bad boys, and
Well,
America's sending 90.
we own 37, and conveniently enough, Canada's reducing its amount of guns, so send 4, and the States is sending 90.
Yeah.
And they need around 90 to 100 plus. Currently, if they get taken out, they're going to need more. Like that's fucking one gun. So that gun right there. Go ahead.
Yeah.
The 4, would that not be a comparable number based on our size and what we
Per
can
capita?
contribute,
No,
or is it still
9.
embarrassing?
Listen,
9 would be 9.
you
10
can
would
do
be,
the at some point, like, stop fucking doing the re-gift thing. You know,
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
go buy, just fucking throw money at it. Canada can't afford to give up its 4 of its 37 guns.
So
You
just
know,
go spend.
It's a token we're kicking in some fucking guns. But it's like 4 guns. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Come on.
It's a bit of a joke. It's kind of
it's-
embarrassing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally a joke. They said they're going to send 8 armored vehicles. I don't even know what the fuck that meant. But explain this, this Howie. Explain what it does. Explain some specs
So
on this, because
that
it looks
is
fucking badass.
Let me give you some good news, since I'm bashing the government all the time.
Yeah, sure.
This gun is one of the newest, lightest 155 millimeter towed howitzers in the world. Okay, it is state of the art for what it is. It was British Aerospace Engineering, BAE Systems, and built this gun to replace an older gun called I think it was the fucking M198 that the U.S. Marines used. They wanted a better gun. Canada was the first guys to get these and take these to Afghanistan. We were the first country to use these in war. And we had, I think, 6 of them. Now we're up to 37. So we got them off the shelf. There was a little bit of a fucking deal made with the United States to get that gun, because there was a need for artillery in Afghanistan. We had the forethought and the right leadership at the time to say, we need these fucking guns to function as a proper combat team over there.
Yeah.
So we're the first guys to use these in war ever. We just, for the size of our military and shit, we don't have a lot of them, but it's a fucking, it is the gun. That's the same gun that the U.S. is contributing, which is good news. So it's interchangeable as far as how to operate it, and the same ammunition, et cetera, et cetera. So it's the right gun, the right howitzer to fucking send over there.
And the UK makes them?
British Aerospace Engineering makes them. BAE.
So what else is
Doesn't
going
mean
on?
they're actually in the UK.
What else is going over there? Germany's sending what? England, like I'm hearing about, anti-aircraft, airspace, anti-aircraft tanks. I'm hearing about guided missile systems, like all the shit for the past 62 days. And this is after the meeting at Ramstein Air Base where 40 different ministers got together from 40 different countries, and they legitimately said, time to send in the fucking heavy equipment. Like, what else are they sending, and why did it fucking take this long?
Hodgepodge of fucking shit. And the problem with that is the more varied equipment you send over there, you have a bigger supply chain of replacement parts for it. You have extended training period. You cannot have units operating with totally different shit, right? So, like, the best bet is equip them en masse with one type of system, i.e. Javelin missile system. Equip them with one gun, M777 howitzer. Equip them with this fucking, we're going to get to this joke of 8 vehicles we're sending over there because I did some research on it last night. What you really should be doing is feeding off the former Soviet bloc countries that have and operate similar or the same equipment that the Ukraine military operates. So you're looking at the Czech Republic, Slovenia, potentially Poland, those maybe not, the NATO countries that haven't evolved to more Western style equipment. You can't just fucking say, oh, we'll give you this and we'll give you this and we'll give you this. And suddenly, fuck, how do I operate all this shit? And where do I get the parts? And where are the mechanics, technicians that are trained to qualify to repair it? Like it creates a logistical gong show where it looks good in the media that, oh, we're sending this. That's fucking outstanding. If they don't speak Swahili and can't fucking read the manual, it's fucking useless.
Although if there's any country or somebody from from another country that I trust to actually figure it out, it's a Ukraine.
Oh, they'll make it work, man. They'll figure it out. Like,
just get a farmer in. There's one of those fucking
get a farmer
cigarettes in there and just
and a roll of fucking baling wire, and he can fix anything.
I saw a great picture of this guy who was farming in a full fucking flak jacket and a helmet, just farming. And next to him in the cab of the actual John Deere, he had a Stinger thing and he had ammo just off to the side. And he's like, yeah, I'm farming, but like if I get a chance to kill some fucking guys, I'll do it. Like,
and I love that attitude. And back here, we're worried about fucking which bathroom we're supposed to use. Like,
well, you can get in trouble if you use the wrong one.
I know, apparently so. Who knew?
That happened to you recently, didn't it?
Canadian Armed Forces is fucking trying to figure out the policy on man buns, which isn't even cool anymore. Yet that's how late the military is. They come up with ideas 10 years after the fucking thing's not even cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so these eight armored vehicles you've been reading about, Dean. So I dug into it. They're made by a Rochelle, who I never fucking heard of. We'll get to why that is, in Mississauga, Ontario. They do not make military-grade vehicles. They make fucking civilian. Their Cadillac is a thing called the Senator APC. It's designed for police. It has no offensive weapon systems to it. It only has B7 armor, which means the armor on it can only take small arms fire. Basically, granddaddy's hunting rifle, or fucking whatever. It is not a combat vehicle. It's not like the Canadian military currently uses the LAV-6, between LAV-3 and LAV-6 light armored vehicles made by General Dynamics Canada that has a double V-shaped fucking hull that can withstand limited IED blasts. It has a 25 millimeter Bushmaster autocan, coaxial 7.62, pintle mounted 7.62, smoke canisters, fucking thermal imagery, like all that shit. That's what fucking combat vehicles are. And what did we come up with? Oh, we're going to give you this SWAT team fucking car that has absolutely no offensive capability. And really, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
So,
looks good.
Dude, I want one.
It looks like the fucking Batmobile. Like, I want that to go to the next Freedom Rally in Ottawa. Right? If I was to go to such a thing, I want that fucking thing.
Right. Let me ask you a quick question while you mention the Freedom Rally. It's happening in Ottawa this weekend. It's called Rolling Thunder Biker Rally. You're a biker. You're a veteran. I want to play
Never
this.
heard of it.
No, but I want to play something for you, and I want your thoughts. The guy who is organizing it, we played it earlier. You weren't here, but Locke is like, play that for Chris.
Oh, I
And
was
I'm like,
watching it. I was seething. I was seething. Play the
Oh, you
clip.
watch this? You watch
Fuck
this?
yeah,
Dude, let me play this for you. This is the organizer's name is Neil Sheard. You're a 25-year combat veteran. You have walked the line, and you have buried your friends, and you have been through the ringer. You've served this country with distinction. You also have a motorcycle, and you also have a brain, unlike this guy. But what are real veterans saying about this? Let me play
Across the street, there's a cenotaph with the names of men who gave up their lives for our freedom. Our freedom. Now it is our turn to fight for our freedom. We have let them down. They died in vain.
That is okay. That is fucking despicable. So first of all, he's wearing 2 medals. He's got the campaign star with 2 bars, which means he did 2 or 3 deployments to Afghanistan. He also has a sacrifice medal on. I'll assume it's all legit. I've never heard of this fucking guy. To be fair to him, though, let's say it is. That means he was wounded in action over there. He's wearing this leather thing with all kinds of patches and shit on it, that's really cute. But fucking carrying a Canadian flag upside down.
Yeah.
This guy's at some point getting out of the military, because I know he's retired now. I've been Googling the fuck out of him for the last 24 hours. Is completely disgraceful. At some point, this guy went off the rails, and he's one of those guys, like just because he's a veteran, just because he went overseas and saw combat and he was wounded, doesn't mean he's not a fucking stunned cunt. Okay. There's tons of them out there, which clearly this guy is.
Mm-hmm.
There's fucking guys that are in the military that are dumber than fucking shit and that think like that. And then there's guys like that are out. So, and now he's talking like our freedoms are gone and I'm going to fight for our freedoms and the flags up. And what the fuck's he talking about, man? I wake up every day and do the same shit I did before COVID and before any of this. So I don't know what the fuck we're talking about. And that guy's a fucking tool. And he's an embarrassment to the veterans community and the Canadian Armed Forces today. Everything. Like, shut the fuck up. That is not what you do. I don't know.
Dude, nothing. I mean, you nailed it. I just wanted your opinion on it, because what I found and Locke and I were kind of talking about it prior to with our other 2 guests, Caryma and Mark. We were talking about, like, who the fuck goes in there, holds the flag upside down, and then speaks on behalf of the war dead, saying this is what the war dead want us to do now. Like,
no, yeah, I'm pretty sure no.
No.
Well,
look, do you think that the fucking guys after World War I, the last pandemic, which was right after World War I, were pulling this shit? Right?
No.
Talking about their dead comrades from the fucking Great War. I'm pretty sure they weren't.
You know what, though? I wonder if there's a conversation about mental health here that needs to happen. And I also wonder if, based on what you go through to fight in any conflict, regardless of what country you're fighting for, if there is a element of stress mentally that we can't just, not everybody can relate to. And I've seen Army Chris, you're a friend. I respect your opinion. You know a lot about our government, about what we do militarily, and you are also very critical of our government. But you approach it diplomatically. You approach it from a different perspective. There are guys I've met that have come out of the military that do not approach it diplomatically at all, and they're scarred and damaged on a different level. Right? I'm not wrong here.
No, you're absolutely correct. I mean, not to generalize or or stereotype, but a lot of those guys are younger guys. So if we all agree that the human brain doesn't fully develop till you're 25 years old, and you take a young man and throw him into a combat environment, and repeatedly between the 19 years of age and 25 years of age, and he gets out of the military, those are the guys, in my opinion, I think, like, are most likely to fucking go off the fucking deep end, and come out. And I don't know this guy from Adam, so I don't know how old he is. I don't know anything about him. But it feels like he fits that mold, because I've seen so many young guys. They feel like the most radicalized is the wrong term, but you know what I mean?
Disenfranchised,
disenfranchised. Thank you, Dean. That's the word.
Radicalized, though, on some level.
That's
this is
a strong word, but maybe
this is a form of radicalization. He
Dude,
is trying to.
Yeah, that guy thinks that there's a woman named Ramona Dadula. That guy we just watched, Neil Sheard, thinks that she's the Queen of Canada and that Jesus has anointed her as such. He believes that. So, like, I know each case is different, and you can't really take the brush and go, they're all insane for the same reasons. He's a special kind of insane, but there seems to be in that neighborhood, and thank God you're not one of the guys in it, which is why I fucking love having your podcast, Fire for Effect, by the way. Anywhere you get podcasts, you can download his podcast. It's a Canadian Forces podcast. You guys talk a lot about all kinds of shit when it comes to not just what's going on in Ukraine, but the mental health, physical health of combat veterans, people that have served in uniform, special events and groups where people can get together and talk about everything from mental health to physical health to reintegration. It's a beautiful podcast, and I should be talking more about that because you do great work in that area for a lot of veterans in this country. But is there any getting in touch? And this is hope against hope. And I know that I'm going to sewer these guys all weekend and drive all kinds of content and clicks because of them.
Which you should.
But
depending on how it evolves.
But when do you know any of these guys in your personal life where you're like, dude, I'm either going to beat the shit out of you, or we're going to take you for an intervention, or you need medication? But like, how do you communicate at all in an arena of truth with this group?
You're dog paddling in the sea of wasted effort. I mean, once these guys, once they go that way.
I love how he makes that shit up, like dog paddling in a sea of effort. It's the fucking.
I gotta jump
wasted
in here.
effort. Go ahead.
Army Chris has a ability to maintain relationships with people, and he's got he gives them a lot of rope, gives them a lot of room, and I know. And he may not admit this. This is why I'm jumping in. Army Chris sees value in maintaining relationships with people that might not necessarily have a lot of friends or a lot of
like
acquaintances.
You, me,
and I
us.
I think Army Chris is the type of guy that just by being his friend is enough. And I think your friend, some of your friends that I like, we don't need to get into examples, but I have been at your house when there's been a few people that have come and I will just leave. But you've maintained a relationship with them because you feel obligated to. And I think that friendship does have an impact on their lives, Army Chris.
I mean,
regardless of whether or not you think it's a waste of time. That's why I wanted to jump in.
That's fair. It's a natural extension of the end of my military career. Okay, when you are responsible for a bunch of guys that are directly under you in a fucking combat environment, you will always, no matter whether they're complete fucking wingnuts or the most rock star guy on the planet, they're your guys. You need to take care of them.
Yeah.
Everybody goes, what was your job in Afghanistan? Well, are you asking my job description or what my fucking job was? Because my job was to take all these fucking assholes that work for me and get them home. Once you've had someone's wife crying before you're getting on a plane saying, please get them home safely, you'll understand. Till that day, you'll never know. So what you see now, you think, why are you putting in the time with that guy or that guy or that guy? because I fucking lived through that. So when I see this fucking guy going left wheel and he's fucking holding the flag upside down, I look at his chest and see the medals he's wearing, albeit 2, which tells me he has limited time in the military, which tells me he's a younger guy, probably early 30s right now, maybe mid 30s. He probably did 8 years because he doesn't have a CD, which represents 12. He's in a demographic of disgruntled young men that came back from a war that fucking failed. And now he sees shit like this and he's chasing something to believe in, and it's fucking warped his mind. And now he's got Chris Sky as his guest speaker, which further tells me the fucking guy's gone off the rails. How do you rein a guy like that in? Fuck, man, that's a lot of work.
I've never heard it explained like that.
What's that?
And well, just like why it's easy for guys like us that don't have the history and the experience that you share with these people, right? It's easy for us to call them psychos, make jokes about meds, tell them they're fucked in the head, chase them down for content, point out the fact that they're holding upside down flags and they're disgusting. But you tied in some common sense, emotion, and some empathy into your answer that Locke asked, right? Like, why are you still friends with these guys? And you can see the effort that they've made on behalf of their country on the pins on their chest, right? And you share that experience with them, and it's a pretty sacred experience. Like, it's one of those things that we just, kind of cast aside when we look at, the Jeremy McKenzies of the world who I can't stand the guy. This guy, other military veterans that have come back and said, hey, listen, we're getting fucked. Like, we were promised this, and this, we were going to be taken care of. We're getting fucked. You add all that in, and in that shared experience is worth, I guess, protecting to some extent. But one of the things I respect about you so much, and Locke and I both feel the same way about that when it comes to you, is that, I respect you to the point where, you're carrying this thing around and you're also still standing on guard for these people and this country in many different ways. And it's not just, I'm not blowing you up here, but it's a very commendable thing because it gives people like us pause to think, Chris.
Well, the thing is, to kind of go back to it a little bit, so everybody understands something. These young guys actually believe when they're in the military, and this might create some controversy, and I don't give a fuck because it's true.
Sweet.
They think that the military cares about them. As a combat armed soldier or any other trade, you function as an extension of political will or the practical application of foreign policy. That's a lot of big fucking words. We know a couple people that would use big words like that, but at the end of the day, it means this. Go over there. You have what's called unlimited liability. So when fucking cops go over there, they don't have that. All these other guys, we do. Unlimited liability. And what that means is you could get killed, you could get injured, you get your legs blown off. Guys, I know guys that fit all those categories. And then you're no longer employable within the military. So they went through this accommodation period, but it really doesn't work out, and you're released. And the day you are gone, they don't give a fuck. But here's the thing. That sounds cold and callous. The reality is that's the way the system works. That's the way it has to work. It's designed to be that way. I cannot count on the guy that quit or was injured. I need to continue rolling forward in order to fucking achieve whatever the objectives are. So they become disenfranchised, and they think, and they're so wrapped up in their world. They're military guys. That's everything they know. The minute they're not in it, especially the younger guys, they feel let down. They feel isolated. They feel like the whole system's failed them. And then you get this fucking guy, and you're thrown into the fucking the machine called Veterans Affairs Canada, where you grind and gouge to get any benefit you can. You know, and that's what a lot of these guys feel, and a lot of them hold this resentment, and they like blame the government. And then, you know, you fast forward into the turmoil of the last couple of years, and you see shit like this popping up.
Yeah. It normalizes it almost, right?
Well, and the irony of it is that Dean and
Or maybe
we
he's
always
just
have,
a fucking asshole. I don't know.
the irony
You know
of
what,
this
guys?
conversation.
Scratch that. He's just a huge cock. Never mind.
It could be that too. I don't know him. I'm going to dig into him though. I'm going to phone. It's a small army, Dean.
Yeah.
I was checking out what he was wearing, and I'm going to make some calls over. Like, I'm going to the UK tomorrow, but when I get back, I'm going to dig into who the fuck this guy really was, what unit he served in. Not because I'm trying to smear him. Maybe this thing will be the coolest thing ever this weekend, but I think there's a bunch of fucking. I don't fucking know.
Coolest thing ever. Lock, you're
Right,
going to say
it could
something.
be,
Sorry, I
man.
didn't mean
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
I hope they get a hot dog stand this time, because if I was you, I would get in there and set up fucking shop
Hot dogs.
immediately.
It's not a
Right?
terrible idea.
Start
Like if you
slinging
went
dogs,
there to,
man.
like if you went there selling like OV out of the back of your car, you'd probably
Yeah.
make fucking millions this weekend.
Big
right?
Bear already in the brown paper bag, ready to go.
Yeah, cheap smokes too.
Cheap smoke.
Smokes by the smoke. That's what we could call it. Just one for $1.
Some,
You could
some,
fucking
some
make
res
millions.
smokes, some Big Bear.
Oh, yeah, you can
and
do it all.
Hot dogs have the greatest profit margin of $5 for a dog.
Yeah.
Do you know how much you make? Fuck, that's what I'd be doing.
Yeah, attaboy. You should.
You know, it's interesting, and I've always had a lot of respect for Army Chris for how he handles people, and I've actually had quite a few conversations, some heart to hearts with Army Chris about some issues that I've had with people, and I am very good. I'm the
Which is a
cut
lot
ties.
of fucking people.
I could cut ties right quickly, and I have zero guilt in moving on with my life. If I feel like I've been wronged in some way. And the irony of it is we have a little podcast meeting, Dean and I, so that we get on the same page. I usually call him on my way home, and we spend 5-10 minutes just chatting quickly about the upcoming show. And we had a conversation this morning on my drive home from work, the other job, where talking about dismissing people. And being able to move on if you fucking know they're a douchebag.
Oh yeah, so easy for us, dude. It is unbelievable. Like if I don't like somebody, I physically can't be in their presence. Like it's fucked
I'm
up.
the same way.
Like if I go to a party and let's say there's someone there who I know has like fucking no moral compass, total douchebag, cheats on his wife and pretends like he's a fucking cool dude all the time and he's Mr. Virtue Signaler, but in the background he's like stealing from children and he's like fucking. And if I know that, or if I know that someone I don't respect you, and it's like. And I can, it's like a smell almost. I can walk in a room, I'm like, I don't respect you, I don't respect you, I don't respect you. I have such a fucking hard time being around people.
See, I'm the other way. I'll go to the same party as you, Dean, and walk right up to the guy and go, what the fuck are you doing here, man?
You hold people accountable for their douchebaggery.
Well, and I want everybody to see me do it too.
As you should. Before I go, we've talked a lot about munitions. We've talked a lot about what the Ukraine needs. Ukraine needs. We've talked a lot about the anti-aircraft stuff, the Howies, the howitzers, the M777s, and the Senator APC, and we've talked a lot about munitions and how far these bullets and bombs go, and Ukraine's going to get retooled. I think they only need one thing. This guy.
Você sente o terror na minha feição. Apenas minha presença já te causa aflição. Como uma serpente tem desejo homicida. Em ser traiçoeira, minha mente distorcida. Na minha infância, meus pais foram mortos na guerra. Desde então eu despertei a ambição também ter contra minha habilidade, o inimigo nunca é pai. A guerra que me fez órfão me fez semi-lendário. Cresci na busca insaciável do poder. A beleza da serpente é o talento de renascer. Aprender todos os chutes do mundo era meu plano, mas
I'm gonna do it later.
He's probably been smashing vodka for fucking 2 hours. He spent way too much time on the internet, man.
I saw that the other day, and I'm like, this is the greatest fucking human being. It's a nearsighted samurai with a super hairy chest and lowriders who cannot physically get the sword back into the sheath, but he doesn't want to give up. And he's making it. It looks like Borat. It's like you know how guys do those performance videos, those sweet flex videos, like look at me with my gun, look at me with my. This is he just bought that at a fucking garage sale, and his glasses and vision are terrible. He cannot get it back in the sheath, but that is not going to prevent him from fucking making this look like he's Shogun.
He will not quit.
Is it just me, or is his upper torso like wildly too big?
He's got the same background as you do, man.
Yeah.
All the CDs? Does he
No,
really?
he's got little plastic totes. Look at that shit. Look at the plastic tote. The only thing he doesn't have is the monkey shit yellow paint.
This is my 70s living room. My 70s basement.
Look at him trying to get. He's like, look at. I'm such a badass. I totally forgot to manscape my chest and my navel.
The only thing that he didn't do that I was praying for is tell me that sword hits the ceiling fan.
I know that's what everybody said.
Everyone wanted the sword to hit the.
Watch the stages of him realizing I cannot get this sword back in at all. Like
I was hoping he was going to shave that horrible fucking chest hair and stomach hair with it. That's what I thought he was going to do.
For fuck's sake, send him to Ukraine, hey boys. Send him.
That was awesome. That guy's a hero. He's the one we're looking for. The one
weapon. I want to get him to Ottawa just in case this weekend. I'm going to send him around with Caryma, just shirtless with that muff all over his chest with the sword.
Carrying
who wants it?
Samurai sword.
Who wants it? Army Chris, Fire for Effect podcast. Download it. Really appreciate you being here, brother. As always.
He goes live on Wednesday nights too, right? What time?
Tonight, 3 hours.
Who do you got?
I got nobody. Just me and the fucking olive drab hooligans, Bryce and Morgan. We got too much.
That's what I was asking. You don't call those guys nobodies. They're your co-hosts.
Oh no! I thought you meant as a guest. No guest tonight.
No,
just the co-hosts.
Just the co-hosts.
I haven't been on in 2 weeks. I got to get my fucking shit together here.
What are you talking about?
Some of this stuff and how Bryce can't get out of his house and how he's mad at the city of Edmonton right now. They failed to coordinate construction. So in his front driveway is under construction. He can't park his car there. All good. Other contractor, different project. They're ripping up his alley. He has no fucking place to park his car. He's got to park it 8 blocks down the fucking road. He's losing his mind.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm excited for the show. Fire for Effect, name of the podcast. Download wherever you get your fine podcasts. At Army Chris, follow him. He's a great follow as well.
New merch. They're on the merch page too.
Oh yes.
Hello. You on the merch?
Don't worry about the shipping costs on the coffee mugs. We'll fix that.
It's going to come down. It'll come down.
Yeah. There's new merch up. Shit's looking up. New merch is coming out, and Connor McDavid's getting the Hart Trophy.
Shut up.
Guy.
Shut up.
60 goals.
Shut up. 60 goals is like 150 points.
That does not make you the most valuable player to your team.
Yes, it does.
122 points.
You guys are idiots. No, listen to me very carefully. I wanted to have this conversation with both of you guys today before we got on the show. Before we do that, let's put up the merch so people can see it. Of course, if you go to deanblundell.com, 2 things you could do. You could buy all of our stuff. All of our podcasts, by and large, have merch up there thanks to Locke. And what we want you to do is go and donate to Alex. Buy the Slava Ukraine shirt. Y'all know Alex. He's in Ukraine. If you can donate, you can. If you can buy the shirt, great. Go get the Go Fuck Yourself shirt. A lot of people are buying those too, which is phenomenal. But to Chris's point, he's got his own gear up there. I fucking love your logo. It's awesome. Fire for Effect.
The cups look good.
Don't they? Fire for Effect podcast cup. He's got the hoodie. He's got the Army Green hoodie. He's got the Black Ladies tee. He's got everything. So if you go to deanblundell.com shop, you can go and buy. Fucking love your best logo in the bunch, dude. By far.
And anything I make gets donated to the Veterans Association Food Bank or a veterans-based thing. Not a fucking penny. Not a penny goes in my pocket. It goes to veterans.
You know what? We should mention that. I'll make sure Scotty puts that up on the page.
100% proceeds go back to veterans. Just say that because it could be 2 or 3 different ones.
Yeah, thank you for doing that, Chris. Fuck, you're a good dude. Appreciate it. What was I gonna say? What was I gonna get to? Oh fuck! Yeah, I don't want to talk
about how McDavid's.
Both of you fucking idiots were like, McDavid's gonna win the Hart Trophy.
This is precipitated by you guys in Toronto going off about a kid that scored 60 goals, and you guys they had a parade. They had a celebration in the dressing room like you guys won the cup.
He scored 60 goals. Hasn't been done in the league in fucking 12 years. Like everybody, The whole fucking hockey world cares.
McDavid is going to finish with 20 more points on the season than
Doesn't matter.
Merkin.
Doesn't matter. How many of those points are primary assists? Let me ask you that question. I have the answer to that. Less than 100. So here's where we're at. You've got a guy with 122 points in Connor McDavid, who by and large is probably the most gifted hockey player to ever play the game. I'm not saying he's not.
Hart Trophy winner.
No, he's not going to win the Hart Trophy this year. Let me explain to you
No,
why.
you're right, Dean. He's not.
No,
because
and it's not because it's in
why.
Toronto,
because
dude.
all
No,
fucking people that vote are dickhead Toronto.
No.
They all live in Toronto and cheer for the Leafs.
See, this is why those guys came from Alberta to Ottawa in February. It's over stuff like this. You guys seem to think that we want to have we haven't had anything nice in 30 years in the sports scene. Like, this is the first time anybody in the Leaf uniform has ever scored 60 goals or more. You had Gretzky, for fuck's sakes. I'm still an Oilers fan. Guy had 92 goals in a season. Like, it never happened before. And this is something that hasn't happened in 12 years. 60 goals. You got 2 more last night. He's not even done. Like, they got Boston in a couple of days. And he doesn't even have to play because Draisaitl's 5 goals behind him. And listen, I take nothing away from Connor McDavid. He will not win the MVP award or the Hart Trophy award this year for one reason and one reason only.
No, because
he scored like 20 more goals than Connor McDavid this year. That's why. That's why. And 60 is a big number in 20.
What's the criteria for the Hart Memorial Trophy, as it is now called?
Dick size, I think.
Most valuable player to your team. Connor McDavid has fucking next to nothing other than Draisaitl under him, whereas Merkin has way more behind him. So the most valuable player to your team.
I don't know about that. There's a case to be made that these two teams are very similar.
Yeah,
they have the exact same deficiencies, and they have like the same kind of build.
Fucking better.
You got Matthews and Marner, and you got McDavid and Draisaitl. And those two combinations have carried them to where they are.
Who's got better goaltending?
Oh,
they both have shitty fucking goaltending.
Well, you take it away from Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell's had a good year, bad second half. Hopefully, he's healthy for the playoffs.
All right, we're never going to solve this in this forum. No. My question to Dean is: do you think the Leafs are going to make it past round 1 or choke?
They're not.
I think they will, but I hope they don't.
Wow. Fuck, we all agree on one thing.
Yeah, I know.
Let's wrap it up.
It's way more fun watching them lose in the first round every single year because
especially when they're up,
fucking goes insane.
Especially when they're winning with like 13 seconds left and they lose.
I think the Leafs are going to get dumped by the Lightning in the first round, and I think the Oilers. I think the Oilers are going to make it through the first round, and then I think they're going to. Then they're going to get. They're going to be up against it in the second.
There's just too much firepower out east, man.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Oh, dude, like if you looked at the playoff thing, like I was looking at the playoff picture this morning, and Calgary finishing 1 and 2. Did you guys watch that Flames Nashville fucking beatdown last night? What
Calgary is going to be hard to watch this
Calgary,
year. They're going to go the distance.
Dude, you check the plus minus across the league. 1, 2, 3. Gaudreau, Lindholm, and Tkachuk all around plus 60.
I grew up in Calgary, so I'm not a Flame hater. I'm good either way.
Yeah.
Fucking Gaudreau is to me. Johnny Hockey is a better conversation for MVP than Merkin. Honestly,
that's also
there's a better case. There's a better case to be made for Johnny Hockey, in my opinion.
I'm starting to realize why we never talk about sports on this show.
Yeah,
because you say stuff like that.
I think he's a rock star, but I don't agree with what you just said, and I fucking hate Merkin.
That's right, I do too.
And I like Johnny, but I don't think he's there. I think he's number 3, but he's fucking not.
How can you hate Austin Matthews? What has he done to you?
He's just a slimy little.
What are you fucking talking about? How is he a slimy?
Don't like him.
Oh, he's a dick.
Don't like
him. You ever walk into a room and this is that fucking guy you don't like? You've never met him.
I don't like him.
No reason. I just don't like him. I don't like his shitty little mustache. I fucking hate him.
It's an arrogant little dick. He looks like a dick.
You guys are fucking angry.
Dick.
You guys are. This is the problem with the West, eh? You guys are just angry. We have nicer shit all the time.
You don't have enough time to get into the problems with the West, man.
You're right. But go and buy these shirts. We got the GOAT shirts right now. Promo code GOAT. Go to the shop, DeanBlundell.com, and let's figure this out online. We've got the Matthews GOAT shirt, We've got the McDavid goat shirt. Matthews is currently outselling the McDavid merch by a ton.
That I have to admit, I am disappointed by that. I'm not exactly sure.
Ratio and proportion, man. It's the same way we elect prime ministers. What the fuck are you talking about?
Dude, it's just a t-shirt gig. That's all it is. I'm not getting too angry about it. It has nothing to do with electing politicians. I'm just trying to drum up support to sell some t-shirts.
Ratio and proportion. Everybody who thinks that fucking shit Nichols Merkin's outselling yeah, it's
shit Nichols Merkin.
There's fucking 12 million assholes in Toronto fucking picking that shirt, and there's
4
like
million. It's 4
7
million.
There's 286 people out here buying it. We're fucked. We can't win.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, appreciate you coming, guys. Go to the shop, buy all that stuff. Thanks to love you too, pal. That is Army Chris at Army Chris on Twitter. That's where you can find him. Really appreciate you being here, Chris. Thanks a lot. Appreciate today. That was a lot of fun.
That was a good one.
Yeah, he's gone too. He just fucking pumps out. It's incredible. But really appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much. Don't forget, you can find everything we do at DeanBlundell.com, including the shop, or you can get the GOAT gear right now. Promo code GOAT, GOAT, gets you a deal on the GOAT merch, kids. That's the deal. And here's the fucking great part. Here's the great part. We've got shirts for this weekend's festivities in beautiful downtown Ottawa as well. Do you want to see what it is? I'll show you. Thank you for asking. It's called the Sons of Stupidity shirt. You can hashtag Rolling Blunder Ottawa. That's where you can get this. You can get it in green and orange and black. I ordered mine in black just because I can't stop having fun with it, right? Like, fuck, seriously. We're all trying to manage this. I'm trying to turn it into a fun show. Relax. And you can buy this now for $28. And the shipping is no big deal. Super cheap. Go to the shop, DeanBlundell.com. Get your Sons of Stupidity Rolling Blunder Ottawa shirt. And you're good to go. Thanks, everybody, for being a part of the show. Really appreciate it. Thanks to our friends and sponsors at Easy Auto Financial, making it easy for you to get financing for a vehicle. It's all turnkey. No obligation. Sign up today, and they're going to get you financing if you're looking for a vehicle. EasyAutoFinancial.ca. Check them out today and get yourself financing in the car that you want. Life's tough. You don't want to fill out forms. Let them fill out forms. Let them chase the business. Let them do all the dirty work. EasyAutoFinancial.ca. Thanks to Ed's Fine Imports and his Gitch. We wear them. You can too. Luxury branded underwear, boxer briefs, pouch in the front. EdsFineImports.com. Go there, peruse the online store. Make sure you purchase at least 3 pairs of Ed's pouched underpants, luxury branded boxer briefs, pouch in the front. Oh, they're so nice. I'm wearing them now. All you have to do is order 3, and they'll send you a free pair with promo code GITCH3. Huge online store for clothing for men and boys as well at edsfineimports.com. And last but not least, Domination. Dominate with your content by using domination.com, dmntn.com. Try them for free today. And if you're a gamer, streamer, podcaster, you don't want to waste time producing promos, one file can get you 72 pieces of content that you can use for a very long time. Make sure you try them today. It's software and AI for people that game, stream, podcast, and more. Dominate with your content by using domination.com, dmntn.com. Have a great day, everybody. See you tomorrow on this very program. Bye-bye.